Chapter 188. It appears we put up our tents for nothing, I remarked to Sinead. Of course not, we need them for our victorious return, he replies amicably. Shall we get the horses? The dragon flies far above our head, a distant shadow on the background of white fluffy cloud. He is impossible to ignore. The weight of his aura weighs upon my shoulders even when I do not look. He will complete a full circle before picking one of the distant, lone mountains as a lair. The hunt will start at the moment he completes his revolution. I hope he does so before the thirst overtakes me. We will need mounts to keep up. Fortunately, I already have one. Our group leaves the tents for a large stable by the portal. We do not need to worry yet. The rules of the hunt prohibit any sort of sabotage before the horns blow, so my companions take their time to get acquainted with their mounts. Those are wandering court stallions and mares, with vaporous gray coats that sometimes puff up like smoke. They work together well, and depend on each other more than they depend on riders, which will work well, because cadres and the gladiators have little riding experience. As for me, I do not need anyone to carry me but her, and so I make my way to the dark edges of the wood and whistle. The compound eyes glaring at us from below the boughs skitter away while the undergrowth turns dark and gnarly. Light fades a little. Tendrils of fog snake out from between centennial bark coated with lichen. You could be dramatic. I tease, shaking my bag. Metis prances out, shaking her mane and snorting with good humor. By the watcher, she is massive around here. And her armor has grown with her. Yes, I am delighted to see you as well. It has been a very long time for me. I pat her flank, but a nose bump soon reminds me that the glutton expects her due offerings, and so I fish in my bag for a caramelized deer. This time, it is the ear of a giant bat. They almost look like pig ears. I have no idea where Emerald found the bats, and I do not wish to ask. Apparently, they do not taste exactly the same from Metis' confused expression. Nevertheless, the hellion accepts her boon, and I can tell from her searching manners that she is curious as to why I am here, thirsty as a devil, surrounded with delicate, juicy prey. We are hunting bigger game, dear. In fact, we are hunting the game to end all game. I point up. She spots the dragon. She inspects me with wide eyes and lets out a lone A. I feel immensely judged. We have a plan. A snort. Trust me, I would not go on a suicidal mission. I still feel judged. Listen, you overgrown pony. This dragon will land in a nearby mountain. I only need you to lead a charge of other horses as we compete with arrogant summer court people. Do you believe you can beat them there? I ask innocently. Metis sneezes furiously, outraged that I could ever doubt her. I am lifted on her saddle with insistent bumps until I sit atop her. I am so far from the ground. It has subjectively been 4 years and I had forgotten how tall she had become. It almost makes me forget the thirst. Unaware of my broodings, the proud nightmare saunters towards the front of the camp where the riders gather. I find Sinead and look around, drinking in the sights. There are several parties and quite a few outriders gathered at the edge of a vast plain, their pennants, flags, and banners flapping in the light wind in a riot of colors and sigils. Armors glint under the sun in every color of the rainbow. I count as many sharp spears as there are puffy vests and outrageous hats. Singers and dancers compete for attention in this tense environment. I watch with interest as a four-armed fae juggles knives and forks while standing on top of a beast, itself standing on the back of another one. Those are the travelers here for entertainment rather than for the hunt itself. They will ride then return after possibly some hunting and most definitely a few tries on isolated meadows. The true hunters will compete to the end, or they will try to at least. I count 5 serious parties among the hundreds of riders, as well as a few lone contestants such as this lad riding a giant wolf with a bow as tall as he is. Besides our own rather eclectic party, I see a spring court company riding elks, gathered around a couple drinking amorously from the same cup. A gathering of small folks riding dogs follow, and a squabbling mass another is made of muscular men riding a mechanical contraption not unlike a locomotive. Lastly, Reva's party gathers in the most harmonious and military whole. His retinue of grim-faced summer warriors ride stallions of identical dun horses while he waits at the front of the formation, his gauntleted hand clasped around the haft of a massive banner depicting a golden palace with his personal symbol. Just like our own, his banner evokes not just his name but him as well. The sun reflects on Reva's perfect, fatherly figure. He gazes in the distance towards the series of peaks we will race to. The foreign sun seems caught in his aura, gathered in a gentle and protective glow. A feeling seeps into my essence, flowing through the cracks because it is not an attack. Looking at him, I feel at peace. He would be kind and thoughtful, because this is the aura he picked and because fate become their personae to an extent. Revas has chosen the guise of the father, the same solid dependability I felt in mine. Papa was always there for me, even after I died. He saw what I had become and did not cast me away. He offered me my first rifle. I frown and glare, just as Revas turns and our eyes meet. The red-skinned devil woman who acts as his second smiles needles at me from the side, now revealed through a step forward. Everything is a game with him. The rules that stop him from acting against Sinead on pain of death until the event starts do not apply to giving me a pleasant feeling, and so he did. I resent the gift for what it truly is. A ploy? It also reveals an important aspect of the contest. While Revas is established to the point of embodying a concept, Sinead is not. He is a liberator and a dancer, but he is not freedom and dance. Amaril was correct. He rushed into it for my sake. It makes me hate him less, despite the needling thirst. While I brood, Hadramo the muscular metal shaper finishes his inspection of everyone's weapons and armor. He has taken to leading the group, with Dancer as a silent second. The mantis-like fighter remains quiet, but he has taken to communicating via gestures since, despite his best efforts to teach us, we have yet to decipher his pheromone messages. Seema the red massages a pair of hands with another pair of hands while making us flits about, window shopping for eyeballs. As for Noel, the fly-faced man sits uncomfortably atop his mount. I believe he will soon ask me if he can fly instead, which I will vehemently deny. Honestly, the gladiators are too weak to make a difference, but they are followers and they matter. Their presence matters. They sent a message, and this will, in turn, impact the world. Truly, the face spheres never cease to confuse. Eventually, the time comes. A powerful roar resonates above our head, low and rumbling like an earthquake. A flap of titanic wings sends dust over the plain and pushes clouds away. I find myself ecstatic that the hunt is ritualized, or I would be halfway through the next sphere, thirst or not. Slowly, the flying behemoth tilts towards the mountains where it will pick a lair. We wait with bated breath, at least some do, for the signal. The riders slowly move forward to the starting line. The unaligned riders wisely decide to let us go first. There has not been a single hunt without casualties, and this year will be no different. In the tense silence that follows, we all admire the sinuous yet heavy shape of the dragon move away, leathery wings catching the high winds with lazy mastery. Light shines on scales as large as shields, reflected in phantomatic rainbow patterns by the creature's monstrous aura. Slowly, it edges away like a distant ship of the line. And then, suddenly, the wings ignite. A line of fire expands across their length, red and furious like life and blood. It calls to us like a taunt, and like a chasm under one's feet. I instinctively lean forward because I cannot stop myself. This message is for us. This message is for me. A taunt. A call to prove myself. All the parties blow their horns at the same time. Through the cacophony and kaleidoscope of banners, we launch ourselves forward. Go, Metas, go. Let's catch us a dragon. Lamp disappears under us, with Sinead by my side holding his banner. I have not felt this glad of a ride since the Scourge Hive crisis. The rush of hundreds of beating hearts around me pulsing with life only brings it into sharper focus. Hooves pound the earth beneath like the roll of a drum while we ride after the elusive form of the dragon, this omen of a great hunt. Over hills and down valleys we go at breakneck speed, never stopping lest we lose our quarry. Seconds turn into minutes, and minutes into hours while we pursue. When I finally come to from the exquisite rush, I realize that many of the followers have abandoned the attempt, glad for the experience, I suppose. The rest of us have shed them like a comet sheds its tail, only keeping those who intend to see it to its fateful end. Around us, the plain narrows into a series of forests and hillocks. Still, we persist. All is lost if the dragon disappears from our sight. We find the end of the valley soon enough and must pick a path among the many routes moving forward. As planned, Machias lands on my shoulder. The truce ends here. Yea. Looking forward to the spiders. I am not, I reply. But they have 8 eyes. Each. I give up on this old argument to focus on keeping course. Speed is of the essence. Soon, mountains will mask the dragon from sight for those who are behind, and to lose him from sight is to lose him forever thanks to this world's strange magic. Sinead leads us down one of the 2 central paths. We are the first, though Revas is a close second. He picks another path. We race forth, a wall of old trees on either side. I hear a tremendous crash and turn to see the locomotive smash a path through the forest, belching teal and pink smoke. The strong fighter at its top leaves a bloody handprint on his flag and roars for vengeance. The oath resonates powerfully with the world and they soon pick up speed. The front of the locomotive catches on fire which, from the flame, is a design decision. Are they not riding in the direction of Eldranath the Everbrood, second most dangerous creature on this sphere? I ask. They are. And good luck to them, the prince hisses between grit teeth. A curious yet courageous way to face the inevitable. Eldranath is a permanent resident of this sphere, a reclusive spider whose size is rumored to be greater than that of a whale. The Fae sometimes lack judgment. A few independent hunters also choose to leave the path, though I suspect they have tools other than sight to track our quarry. We have to have been out of the plain for 5 minutes before the baying of hounds comes from our right. The dog's party returns, but this time the eyes of the men shine red under the canopies while their hounds display maws not unlike those of deep-water fishes. Abari cannibals, Machias spits from my shoulder. I recognize their pathetic mewlings. They compete with us for eyes. Kill them all, Ariane. Have you considered eating normal food? What's a normal food? I sigh and watch the hounds circle us then approach. The leader cackles madly from under a filthy cowl stained with gobbets of fresh meat. They stop for a snack before finding us. I feel insulted. As the first of his riders launch themselves on our flanks, an arrow takes a hound in the throat. The cannibal leader bleats in alarm, but too late. Other arrows come from behind us, skewering his men with unerring accuracy. The smell of hound blood mixes with that, sweeter, of the little man-eaters. I taste jealous rage and mindless ferocity in their alien fragrance. I could just take a snack as well. No, Ariane, poise and control. I am better than this. The spring court riders on their elks join us while the cannibals disperse. Revas paid the hound riders while we bought the spring court's help long before the event started. In Fey politics, such maneuvering counts as preliminaries to the real contest. With the danger dispersed, the spring court veers away to take pot shots at Revas or at least, his lackeys. We have to maintain a constant speed or risk exhausting our horses even more than we will. Any brusque acceleration will tire them considerably. We cannot afford to fight on horseback. Even Metis will be tired before this is all over. Macius urges us on as he never lets his gaze wander away from the dragon. We pass by the first lone peak on the way without slowing down, then another when night falls. 2 moons rise here, and still the trail of fire left in the wake of the dragon lights the path. Macius acts as our anchor, making sure that no disruption will make us lose our way. Sometimes, his tiny hands grip a lock of my hair when he hovers. I suspect there might be some unknown difficulties involved. It must be well past midnight when the dragon dips. By then, the ecstasy of the ride has long since given way to a feeling of persistent exhaustion at most of my companions. I am untouched so far thanks to my unusual constitution, but I understand now what Cadus said when he claimed this was a test of endurance. We watch him select a destination with agonizing slowness. Until the last moment, he seems to hesitate between 2 different peaks, but eventually settles for a craggy, steep rock cracked with age. From here, I can see ancient bridges crisscrossing its withered body. With a clear destination, we leave the road and dive into the forest, and into an immediate ambush, which I call with a whistle. Spiders as large as dogs, sometimes even more, jump from moss-covered trunks or up shallow burrows with furious clicks. Metis grunts and pulps the first under a massive hoof. The gladiators form a circle around us and the battle is joined. Sima devastates the assailants with quick, precise jabs of her 4 sabers, while Dancer repulses them with palm strikes that leave his victims bleeding etcher from their mouths. Hadrano uses a heavy hammer to catch jumping foes in the air. Cadras is everywhere, placing critical halberd strikes in the gaps when help is needed. Sinead opens a path with deadly accuracy. As for me, I merely block flying nets with a smidgen of ice magic. I am so thirsty now, and we are still far. Any energy expenditure would be unwise. We quickly get out of the trap before reinforcements can come. Those woods belong to the spiders. We have no time to get stuck in. Fortunately, with our destination well in sight, we no longer need a constant vigil, and Macius finally lifts off from my pauldron to grab a passing arachnid head, which I do him the favor of detaching from its previous owner. I have to recover my strength. I do not argue. I merely avert my gaze. Sinead slows down now that the risk of attack is higher, and I soon hear a commotion to our right. The call of the horn confirms that a pitched battle is taking place a few hundred paces away. We recognize the spring court instruments. I leave it to Sinead to intervene or not. To my mild surprise, he decides to offer assistance. We make for them through difficult terrain. We should let the horses go, Cadras suggests in his usual cold voice. They will soon become a hindrance. Most of the gladiators agree since they are not riders to start with. I also dismount, though Metis could handle the treacherous path and web traps. We are a group, for now. I do give her another ear for her excellent service before chasing her off. All the horses disappear back from whence we came. Let's go, Sinead declares. We run between ancient bark crusted with mushrooms and webs in the direction of the fracas of battle. Arrows whistle and soon we see the flash of green of moving warriors lost in a sea of chitinous rage. Our group lays into the back of the spider tide with gusto, Noel and Dancer especially vicious. I suppose a fly and a mantis would harbor little love for spiders. Once again, I mostly protect the others from the occasional wave. I dispose of a few larger spiders spitting acid at the fleeting forms of our allies before they can turn too much ground into hungry green puddles. We dive into the fray in a wedge, leaving broken bodies in our wake. There are a few clicks, then a massive tarantula with an exposed brain lets out a high-pitched whine. Immediately, the whine grows in intensity. Then its brain explodes. Caddis lets out a dark chuckle while the spiders retreat in disarray. It matters little. There are tens of thousands of the buggers throughout those forests. Only a fast pace will protect us from being overwhelmed. The spring court warriors rally around the towering, antlered figure of their leader. The woman with whom he shared a drink of wine places herself into his protective embrace. He appears to have lost one fighter and half of his elks. "My love," she whispers in true Lycaean. "You saved me." He smiles gently at her and, for a moment, an emerald light filters from the boughs, casting them in a gentle glow. She raises her hand to his rugged cheek. He catches it with lightning speed, turning the fingers over. She is wearing a ring and, with a flick of his finger, a transparent needle dripping with liquid unsheathes itself from it. "Is this how you killed my brother?" he amorously asks his horrified companion. Her blabbering answer gets cut by a vicious dagger plunged in her chest. He stabs her with hateful spite until she chokes on her blood, her pleadings dying on blood-stained lips. Oh, she smells amazing. What a show. Wait, no, Ariane. You are supposed to be judgmental and we are wasting time. Eventually, a panting noble of spring turns to Sinead with grateful, if empty eyes. "It was as you said, Your Highness. The debt is repaid." "No, my debt is still running." The touching scene is cut short when Sima coughs, her breath labored. I am immediately by her side and removing an antidote from the pouch at my back. By the Watcher, it is so good to be able to wear accessories without them turning instantly into frozen icicles. "Are you hurt? Where were you hit?" I ask as her face turns purple. "Spider poison, no doubt." "No. I force the concoction between her darkened lips and wait for it to take effect. It does not. What? I place her gently on the ground but she is choking, and fast. I consider stabbing the base of her trachea to bypass her constricted throat, and rip apart her chest armor. The exposed skin is mottled with black spots. Sima grabs my hand between two of hers and guides it to her neck, where I feel something transparent under my fingers. I remove a practically invisible dart from her skin, the blood-covered tip barely visible to my improved senses. "Better. Here. Then." She stops, and her arms grow lax. She is dead. Someone just assassinated one of my gladiators. I find myself rather annoyed. They are duelists, not schemers. The use of poisoned weapon in an assassination is so very low. Disrespectful of their efforts. I just got her the nice saber too. She liked them. "A blood court assassin's tool," Cadrus explains. "The Red Woman?" I ask, thinking of Reva's second. "Yes. She is one of the few to escape the control of her senseless court. There are no others near this sphere right now." "I see." I track in my head where Sima was and realize she moved too much. "I couldn't find her," Macias announces. I look at the tiny flying man. He looks tired yet determined. I would love to have your help. We cannot afford to have her pick us off, but we cannot stop. We will move towards the mountain. Making can guide you to us. Agreed, I declare. Hadra, can you take her body? I don't want to leave it here. Of course. Then let us go. We will accompany you to the base of the mountain, the spring noble says. It is the least I can do. We split, Makus guiding me. First, he erratically flows around the site of the battle, and I sometimes fear he will disappear behind a trunk and be gone forever, but this is not the nightmare world, and he eventually glides back to my shoulder. Found her. Over here. I have no idea how he managed it, since even I can see no hint she has been around. I decide to release my Magna Arca and curse the wasted vitality. I cannot afford not to see her coming. I can feel them, I whisper to him, and he tugs on a lock in response. We arrive in a short clearing, not so much a true opening than a less crowded spot where the lights of the stars can be seen. A large spider lies dead, curled on itself like a contracted hand. One of the lone hunters sits against a stump with a pallid face. He sweats abundantly, and when he looks up, his anger turns to despair. As far as bait goes, this one is rather pathetic. At this stage, I believe I will go mad if I taste even the slightest amount of vitality. So, even though I heartily wish to shred all those ambushers and immense meat with my thorns, I will have to deprive myself of the satisfaction. That is fine. I approach the resigned form of the lone hunters and pretend to believe this is the man who poisoned Sima. I lean forward and grab the short spear on his back, then I give him another antidote. As I suspected, the red woman poisoned him with borrowed spider venom instead of whatever horror she used on my gladiator. He immediately regains some color. You might as well come out, I announce. The summer court fighters shoot me with arrows. I collapse on myself and let them fly over my head, then I am up and running towards the red woman. All those who can attempt to intercept me, but I easily slide under their blows or around their lunges. Those men are competent, but they are nothing compared to what I have faced before. Even their archery pales in comparison to the vicious imagination of Blue Court's sharpshooters. I move through them without stopping. They are slow and unused to the terrain. They struggle with so many obstacles, I can tell. I make short work of them, stabbing the borrowed spear in the chinks of their armor and through solid chain mail. They scream and they bleed and they are simply too delicious. I need to. No, I must not. The red demoness does something and I block another invisible dart with the haft of the spear. She emerges from the darkness near a lone rock, a black tube held in her armored hands. She raises both hands towards me. Her red ball rises between her palms like a twilight sun. We cast our spells at the same time. Hellish Chaser. Polar Midnight. Our words spoken in Lycian resonate, each in their different way. Mine is winter, hers is a land steeped in fire and endless conflict. They smack into each other. Her spell is more focused, but mine is unyielding. The orb of fire dives into the maw of winter and pierces through, only to find itself slowly digested. It peters out in the endless cold. I smack her head aside with the tip of the spear, digging a furrow through a horned helmet. 5 years ago, we might have been a match. No longer. I even dismiss my Magna Arca to spare my strength since she is so powerless to face me. Her style is perhaps the most similar to my own out of all the foes I ever faced, but while mine has grown sharp and effective, hers still reeks of wasted motions, of sloppy steps. I punish her every step of the way. Is that it? I ask, somewhat disappointed. She snarls and dives under a spear jab, full of openings just as she thinks me disarmed. Instead of repositioning the spear, I drop it and punch my claws into her abdomen. They dig into her armor, though the process itself is rather painful on my knuckles. I inspect my talons while she is tossed aside, reeling from the blow. There's blood there, carmine and so very vibrant. Just a little bit of it. Just a smidgen. I casually stab a soldier trying to attack me from behind because I simply cannot take my eyes away from this perfect treasure, this new, unknown scent unlike any court I have sampled yet. Oh, yes, so small and precious, a ruby on the black needle of my claw, shivering in the wind. Its warmth will soon disperse. If I could have it, just a little lick. HSSSSSSS. Shit, we're leaving. The woman claims. You're going nowhere. Alas, the morsel takes a bell from her pocket and rings it. Fog emerges from the earth with remarkable speed until I am lost in a cloud of fluffy white. The only clear point is single, armored hand holding a bell. So I strike with a spear and all my might. The broad tip slams into the wrist, shattering it. The severed hand falls on the ground, fingers clenched over the ghost of the bell until it, too, disappears. Damn Fae and their stupid toys, I grumble. I turn around to see the archer on his feet, 2 arrows notch at the same time. He is a tall man with a beard and some spectacular sideburns. I remember he rode a wolf here, though there are no signs of his mount. He seems a bit worried. I realize I reactivated my Magna Arca during the Demona's escape. My eyes should be purple and slitted to his perception. Also, I might be drooling a little. From the frustration. It is fine. You are safe, I assure him, and he amazingly takes my word for it. It appears I owe you a debt of gratitude, and then a debt of blood. He scowls mightily and takes a deep breath. The woman killed Juran, my companion. My condolences. That is fine, he will be reborn soon. Convenient. How may I repay my debt? I remember all those stories about humans lost in fairyland, losing their names in youth and whatnot. Honestly, they merely need to follow 3 simple principles. Do not be greedy. Do not try to extort them. Most importantly, be capable of hacking them to mincemeat. Simple. You may help us win the hunt, I quickly reply. That would suffice. Then let us be away. Yes, let us be away, Macius announces as he flies back from the watcher knows where, mouth bloody and tummy bloated. The 3 of us race forward to the forest's end, only chasing off a few skittering denizens on the way. The mountain rises abruptly with a sheer cliff, but there are stairs in the distance. Out of patience, I grab the archer and claw my way on the sheer wall, ignoring the mild panic singing through his veins. I can hear voices above. Soon, we join the stairs again and I find Sinead leading our companions in a desperate climb. You took yet another stray? The Sunny Prince gasps. You were the first stray I picked up, I remind him. Never mind that. Revis is above. Can you delay him? I will, I say, and race ahead. The wind blows harsher now that we are much higher. The large body we are climbing will soon end, but it appears linked to the steeper, larger side of a larger peak by a narrow bridge of prodigious length. Revis is currently running across it as we arrive. I do not know if the spheres play a role, or magic does, but sometimes, life has a way of lining up perfectly. 4 arrows pierce the far pillars, severing the ropes hanging the bridge. The far end drops immediately. To his credit, Revis turns and races back, displaying unnatural grace in the way he uses the falling wood as support. Our eyes meet as he approaches the halfway. I cut the support on our end. It brings me great joy to watch him plummet to the ground, golden armor shining like a falling star. Sinead finally reaches us, catching a last glimpse of Revis before he disappears in the forest far below. I have no doubt that he survived, alas, but the archer was correct in his choice. I doubt he could have pierced that armor. "Shall we go on?" I ask. "Hush," the prince replies, eyes closed. "Let me mark the memory of this moment in my heart forever." We hear the distant noise of broken branches and of metal smashing on stone. Beautiful. We have not won yet. We need to cross and get this over with, I protest, especially because we either find the dragon in the next couple of hours, or someone is getting eaten. This is my time to shine. Noel declares. I do not say I could just grow roots across the chasm. Instead, I allow him to fly a rope to the other side, which we cross in turn. Most gladiators just walk on it like performers, which I find pleasing to watch and might paint later. The archer also joins our merry band to see his debt cleared. We keep climbing. Sometimes, I look behind at the trail of various warriors who have joined us on this strange quest. Far below, the rest of the mountain dives into the ground like a blade through flesh. I had not realized it in our mad rush upward, but Lycians can cross distances in a way few other mortals could. Only a pack of werewolves could have moved faster. Returning home will require some readjustments. I shake my head and continue up, feeling nervous energy swell in my black heart. This will soon be over. All the major parties are accounted for, and they're always the fastest without exception. Our climb continues in silence. The height of the mountain catches me by surprise. It is so high that the temperature plummets and the howling winds eventually force making us to hide in my bag. Around me, those who can breathe suffer despite the occasional stop. We reach a plateau at dawn. Here, dawn is not synonymous with an agonizing and fiery end. Instead, the sky turns pink in the distance and the light of the stars fades. A few of the gladiators sigh with contentment. I understand something is wrong when the deep fog covering the plateau fails to disperse, covering the land in cottonous layers far into the distance and almost to the distant peak. We expected this, however. It is the reason why I have not fed in a while. The Shroud of Oblivion, a classic, Cadorus replies. Unfortunately, it would take my mother to disperse something of that magnitude. We will have to do our best. Is everyone ready? Sinead asks. Everyone takes a few last swigs of whatever liquid they fancy. We are facing the last hurdle before the dragon proper, if everything goes well. The Shroud of Oblivion will cast away all those who lack the drive to reach him. Only the most determined heroes get a chance to face magic incarnate. Many hunts end without success. Good luck, and see you back at the encampment, Sinead tells everyone. We all step in. Holding hands or using any sort of device would be of no use here. The shroud is the dragon's doing, and he does not tolerate cheaters. I am swallowed by a vaporous tide on my way forward. The hard, crevice stone under my feet turns into something smoother and colder, reminding me of the marble of an ancient castle. My senses are soon dulled, but I do not fight it. Even my Magna Arca would be of little help since we are in his domain. The first of the whispers come soon. You are no one. Unimportant. I ignore it. Unfortunately, I cannot rely on Sinead's inflated ego and unerring sense of self-importance. From the beginning, I was thrown into a merciless world where I was at the bottom of the pyramid. I have spent a lot of time there, finding my own happiness, working on my own rules and developing skills. Even now, Nirari's power weighs upon my mind. I could not convince myself I am truly important even if I tried, because I do not believe I am. I do, however, achieve important things with people who are important to me. This is what matters. Not glory everlasting or those pompous concepts. You are not the first, not the last. Not even someone exceptional. You live in the middle, scrabbling in the mud with the rest. You are no one. Unimportant. I am enough, I reply. The fog takes away my outrage and gnaws at my ambition. It weakens the ties I have with others. When you die, no one will remember you, no one will carve your name. You will be a footnote in history. I made a kingdom for the living, and it is them I care about, not my own majesty. In 300 years, no one will know you even existed. What do I care about people 3 centuries after I die? I never met them. They might be twits. Your sire will kill you. My steps falter and I almost fall on my face. What? What did it just say to me? It felt important somehow. I struggle to remember. You will be a stepping stone, the last one. He lets you grow now so he can take you down at the end. You will be a statement. A cautionary tale. I remember that. It matters? I believe it matters. You could submit to him. Let go. He would treat you well. Would he? I think you are wrong. He would, now. You merely have to bend. Something is wrong, however. How can one bend and bite? How can prey drink blood? And I will drink blood. I must have it. I must have that hunt to its conclusion. You were never meant to rule his empire. There is no empire. He rules over ash and bones. I will not let him turn what I have into a tool of senseless conquest. There will be, when he is done. Submit. Something rebels inside of me, backed by my essence. I have bent in the past because it was necessary, because death would have followed refusal, but this time is over. We are on the cusp of the last great act, and I will no longer surrender. I will face him, I will kill him, and I will drink him dry. I am enough, I know what I want, and I will hunt everything in my path. I will slake my thirst on your sorry, desiccated, my words die on my lips when the fog evaporates, and I gaze into the depth of an amber orb the size of a coffee table. It slowly blinks. Chapter 189. Slowly, my consciousness returns and I realize the eye is, of course, attached to a massive head taller than I am, triangular with a squarish chin area. Armored scales thicker than any plate cover the creature, shining softly in the red light. I also realize that this head is attached to a body so massive and so long I could line 8 pookies to reach the tail and still have room for another pookie. The retracted wings, when expanded, could blot the sun from half of Marquette. The dragon rests supine in a cavern of epic proportion, its existence an affront to every law of structural integrity. Impressively, space acts in an erratic manner, sometimes blurring the edges of the cavern until I am not sure if it is there, or I am merely looking at the reflection of some distant land. There is no source for the light, of course. The cave's host has no need for such mundane contraptions. The most striking features are the absolute calm spread by its presence. Merely looking at the dragon from the ground gave me vertigo, as if my senses could not quite grasp him in its entirety despite my experience with the Watcher. Nevertheless, I can gaze upon its tower shield-sized scales and feel nothing except a mild dread, even though being in close proximity should blind me. The thirst has quieted as well, my instincts silent. Why did I ever think I could hunt this creature? I am 50,000 years too early. As I recover from the shock, I realize that I am not alone. 2 others stand by my sides. Behind us, a long tunnel snakes back outside. I do not remember treading it. I expected Sanayat, of course, considering his involvement in the hunt's result. Cadras is a surprise, however. I assumed the crystal part of his body and mind would not tolerate such meddling, yet here he is, a mighty scowl on his cold traits. We stay here for a moment, quiet as mice while our host inspects us. When he finally speaks, his Lycaean is the clearest, most articulated I've ever heard. It bears the clarity of a sovereign but none of the barely veiled power. A mellow voice like that of a perfect gentleman emerges from the air. It evokes a quiet spot and a private library, coffee, and a pleasant time. He is so unthreatening that it represents a threat itself. His control is simply baffling. Well, here we are again. At least someone reached me this time. He snorts and the searing air pushes my hair back, forcing me to blink. A human would have been sent careening into the nearest wall. Little Carnation tells me I should not judge the current generation to the measure of the best, but, honestly, I feel terribly belittled. Very well, I am sleepy. Let us get this slaying done. You may challenge me and the victor will earn a prize. You may pick whichever game you believe you have a chance with, or violence I suppose. That would make this meeting mercifully short. There. Who goes first? I challenge you, Great One, Sinead announces, taking a resolute step forward. The dragon sniffs him, the prince's golden hair fluttering forward from the short intake. Are you related to Arathon? My grandfather, the founder of the Court of Summer. HMPH. You are. Not his equal. Though I suppose you are still quite young. Speak your challenge then. I challenge you to a dance. The dragon stays quiet for a brief moment, then Sinead is suddenly standing in the middle of a circle lit by bobbing golden lights far in front of us. The cave has spontaneously grown by 50 yards. You may begin. The prince closes his eyes and breathes deep. He seems to pull on himself, then his back arches out. His arms spread. He launches himself, and the dance begins. A golden robin flies between branches, barely dodging raptor claws. An eagle screeches out of sight. The robin weaves a complex path that drives him, deeper and deeper, until the sky darkens and the branches turn to gnarly fingers grasping for him. It is silent now, but still the robin flies. It has been fleeing for so long against such a relentless foe that to stop would be madness. The eagle will never stop. The robin is lost. He lands on a mossy root. It is a dark, merciless world, and so the robin plunges in the dust. Dark patches cover his radiant plumage. He is tainted now, dull, but only in appearance. The summer sun has never ceased to burn within his breast. The robin evolves in this world without light, without fire. He outwits predators and gathers allies, including those who could have harmed him. He finds others broken and lost, and he puts them back together until the dark world teems with the fires of emotion, hidden, damaged, but never extinguished. The tarnished gather into a great flock and reveal their true colors. The dark world shimmers with their revealed lights, dizzying in their beauty. The monsters try to extinguish the light, but they cannot touch the robin as it flies in a rainbow of color, opening the thick canopy above. In a breathtaking apotheosis, the robin sheds its dark feathers and ascends to be a phoenix. He and the others escape through the opening into an azure sky. Sinead reaches the apex of his jetty and lands with a bow. I take a deep breath, amazed by his performance. I knew he had been practicing with Amaryl and other trainers while Cadiz used my chest for a pincushion, but I had no idea he could be so inspiring. I want to draw him, so handsome and so free. What a performance. I almost want to grab him back with me so I can open a ballet. Even now, the remnants of emotion make the world blur with riotous colors. Amazing. Well, I do believe he was amazing, but the dragon does not seem impressed. The old one sighs. The circle disappears. We are back at the entrance of the cave. The dragon stretches and stands. It now dwarfs even the largest buildings I have ever seen in New York and Boston by far. His wings spread in the flap, once. I am still standing on a horizontal piece of rock. I have to convince myself of that, because the cave pulled open like an opera curtain to reveal a night sky filled with foreign stars, pink nebulas, and two large moons like antediluvian eyes. The dragon flies through the cold air with increasingly greater speed. His wings ignite. The dragon dances through the air and his motions ignore inertia, gravity, and anything that could possibly constrain the purity of his message. Scales, wings, and claws merge into a mirage of movement. Suddenly, I am no longer watching the dance so much as having an epiphany. A tide of. I am not quite sure what to call it. The closest concept would be ideas or revelations, touch my essence, sharing deep truth about the nature of the soul and the worlds and the relationships therein. I understand that Earth will be bound to other spheres, first briefly then for extended periods of time over the eons. I understand that the Watcher sees the world around and through us, and what is unknown to us stays unknown to it, or the fabric of reality might be damaged. I understand that space and time are one. I understand that time itself is a river. No, it is a circle revolving. No, a spiral. No, I am but an ant perceiving an apple slice by slice because I cannot experience it in its entirety. I am crying. The dance has stopped. The dragon lies before us, and I have fallen to my knees. It was life-changing. I must focus, try to remember nuggets of the truth revealed to me, but the concepts seep through the sieve of my limited mind. I lack so much background to bind this new knowledge to. I am lost. Eventually, I am left with strands of the tapestries I clutch between jealous fingers, longing for the moment I have lost and will never live again. I have witnessed a gift beyond anything and I am too stupid and limited to appreciate more than a fraction of it. Disgrace. Also, we have lost. Incidentally. The three of us shuffle awkwardly, quite aware that Sinead's performance does not hold a candle to what we were just offered. Normally, the dragon will recognize great attempts and grant the petitioner a symbolic victory, but it appears it will not be the case this time. There are rumors he sometimes kills those who reach him. For the first time since Reva's fell, doubts assail me. Our lives depend on the whims of one we cannot possibly influence. Your next attempt, please, the dragon grumbles. I challenge you, Great One, to do what I do, Cadmus says softly. He looks a bit lost, yet resolute. HMPH, I know of your fate, child. A mother has no right to sell the soul of her children. Go ahead then. Cadmus takes out a dagger and resolutely stabs himself in the eye, the crystal one. He grits his teeth in pain, even though the sharp tip fails to penetrate. Another moment passes, then an unseen force wrenches the dagger from his grip. The enchanted weapon plunges in the dragon eyes with a dreadful squelch, right in the middle of the pupil. Pardon's enough to make me real pushes the dagger out, disintegrating it, enchantment and all. The wound is unmade before it can shed a droplet of blood. Of the weapon, only dust remains. Cadmus gulps. Well then, the prince says. Both Sinead and I turn in horror, but too late. I wince in pain and force the barrier around my mind palace to thicken. The world loses a little bit of color while I take a step back, hurt by the onslaught coming from the prince. He is not even targeting me. His power surprises me, and I assume the moment grants him strength. It is entirely pointless. His might washes over an invisible wall yards away from the dragon's body like a wave upon a rock. When I was 12, I challenged my uncle to arm wrestling. He allowed me to struggle for 2 minutes and even use both hands, then my entire body to try and defeat him. After allowing me to expend myself, he casually put his arm down. I believe this memory to be the only valid comparison to what happens next. the main difference being that Cadras is sent screaming to the ground, a fist over his bleeding quartz orb. Sinead and I approach the fallen to render assistance, but we are pushed away. "Do not interfere," the dragon states, and we pull back. We will not interfere. It must simply be so. I shake my head to push back the dragon's control, but it is already gone, having fulfilled its purpose. At least, Cadras will survive. I am reasonably sure of it. The dragon sighs, a miniature storm we must withstand once more. His gaze turns to me. The world fades away until there is just me in the eye. And what might you be? A new sphere? Not quite yet. Interesting so. Well, do you wish to try your luck? He asks. I feel an undercurrent of threat mixed with boredom. I am entirely certain that he will kill us if we fail to convince him we were serious enough. By the Watcher, this is complicated. We can choose the contest, and try several disciplines, is it not so? I ask, unsure. Yes. I will lose patience after the first few hundreds, however, so pick wisely. Then I choose a drinking contest. The two princes watch in horror, especially Cadras, who barely recovered from his mishap. I fail to understand how a giant lizard with no facial expression to speak of can convey how unimpressed he is, but the spheres are a strange place anyway. And I assume I need to provide the drink seeing as you have not a single container on your person, child. Very well, here you go. A volcanic bottle appears out of nowhere on a pedestal that did not exist a moment before. Its cork pops open and pours content in a tiny sifter. A waft of powerful alcohol almost makes me flinch. We vampires with a hasting essence can consume liquids without ill effect, so I should be entirely fine. I hope. I approach the glass, now filled with fuming, crimson liquid. My eyes water, which should not be happening. I grip it with determination and bring its cusp to my lips. The very scent scalds my nostrils. I feel as if someone had scrubbed my lungs with 100-proof alcohol inexplicably holding a touch of flour. By the Watcher. I take a sip. I think, sometimes, that the world throws multiple hints in my direction to inform me an idea of mine is particularly stupid. Unfortunately, it only serves to make me suffer twice since I absolutely cannot back out of the contest. The liquid fire ravages my innards. I must have swallowed lava. I stumble forward and completely lose my balance. Oh, this is quite nice, in fact. I should not be so worried and oh no. I collapse and retch bile, then grab my suddenly painful head between two clammy hands. Impossible. Impossible. The dragon upends the bottle in his mouth using nothing but the power of his mind, since moving one's limb is apparently too pedestrian. The titanic head splits to reveal fangs as large as support beams. It closes immediately afterwards. A pleasant surprise. I should demand a few more crates, though it could have been aged a few more millennia. Well, it was a pleasant starter. Next, we raise the stakes with a nice Gordian fire belly rum from the first blood court invasion. Unless, of course, you give up. I apologize, but I believe I must withdraw before the next drink sets me on fire. What a shame. A new bottle appears in the air, this one actually on fire. A rainbow liquid emerges from it and levitates into the creature's monstrous mouth. The dragon inhales, exhales, and the mere smell of alcohol forces a hand to my mouth. Too sweet. Well, what is your next attempt, I wonder? Riddles? The dragon snorts yet another storm. You are missing far too much context to appreciate my riddles, But do ask yours, and if I fail, and it is not some what is in my pocket nonsense, I shall declare you the victor. Oh, I am worse than the devil, better than a god. Rich folks need me, poor folks have me, and if you eat me, you die. What am I? The dragon literally plucks the knowledge of God and the devil from my mind, and without my consent, with such delicate ease that I feel him doing it and it does not hurt. Your cosmogony lacks sex, in my opinion. And the answer is nothing. Oh. I liked that one. All right. I come from nothing. I have no taste, no smell, no consistency, yet I am more painful than the sharpest dagger, and I have destroyed empires and laid waste to armies. What am I? HMPH, even your riddles are born from a void. Your hunger. It fits you, little predator. Damn. A king has 5 miners who produce the same amount of gold coins every day, but one of the miners shaves an ounce from each of his coins. The king has a magical scale of devilish precision with a large capacity but only one use. How can he know in one go which of his miners is stealing from him? Interesting. I faced a similar situation some time ago. My method was more definitive. You merely measure 1 coin of miner 1, 2 coins from miner 2, all the way to 5 against 15 normal coins. If you are 1 ounce short, it is miner 1, 2 short, miner 2, and so on. An amusing childish guess. It reminds me of different times, when will was not enough to alter the world. Anything else? I do not think I can beat this ancient wit. I challenged him because I was out of ideas, and also because it felt story-like enough. Unfortunately, it will not be enough. I still decide to give it my best try. A princess is as old as the prince will be when the princess is twice the age that the prince was when the princess's age was half the sum of their present ages. That gives the dragon a second of pause, but only a second. An interesting concept, to muddle a matrix with a deliberately obtuse formulation. It unfortunately limits those tricks to base tongues, but it does give me an idea using the Song of Beginnings and its 3 versions. Yes, I believe I can provide my peers with quite a conundrum. Oh, and your princess is 4/3 of the age of your prince, and the prince 3/4 of the age of the princess. That is it. I give up. I have nothing more twisted. If only Isaac was here with some Rosenthal puzzle. Alas. Do you have more? The dragon asks. Nothing that would pose a challenge. What a shame. Well, this meeting was not a complete waste of my time at least. I am still far from being defeated, however. How about a painting challenge? I offer. And I have to provide the supplies again. HMPH. Fair enough, I suppose. We shall draw each other. I have a pen, I answer defensively, and so I do. The dragon gives me a canvas and lets me work. I decide to pick the view of his shape far up, just under the clouds, his wings ablaze. I take good care to blur the air around his shape to express just how breathtaking he appeared. While I draw the rest of the sky and the distant mountains with as much realism as possible, the shapes and lines of perspective bends around his form. More than anything, I try to convey how unattainable he seemed, how I felt like a wolf jumping after the moon's reflection on the surface of a placid lake, thinking they would reach the real thing. I tried to convey the vain hope I felt when I told Meadows I would bite him. It is perhaps the smallest subject I have ever drawn, since most of the emotion will come from its surroundings. When I pull away from my last adjustments, an unknown period of time has passed, yet the thirst is still kept at bay. The dragon inspects my work. I can tell from the slight sheen emanating from the colorful bits that I have succeeded, and that the painting would produce an effect on the mind of men, should it be brought back to earth. He keeps silent for quite some time before harumphing. Very well. Here is my piece. As before, a canvas appears from the empty air. The dragon then exhales loudly. Bubbles of color escape his mind, a display that would be humorous if he were not so terrifying. They coalesce around the canvas, merging together until the painting is little more than a swirl. Suddenly, the scene appears. ****. July. I am 18. To celebrate, Papa opened a bottle of rum as old as I was on the porch overlooking the garden. He poured the old liquor in 3 glasses during lunch, before friends and guests would arrive. Sugarcane syrup and lemon juice joined it to form a murky mix, the vapors strangely powerful. My daughter, you are an adult now. Soon you will leave the nest. She could have already, Achille comments in a teasing voice. Hush you. I wish your mother were here with us, but I know, wherever she is, she must be proud and happy. You have both grown into the people we always hoped you would become. Oh, I say, moved to tears. Hug. Achille uncharacteristically says. He was never tactile. They both embrace me, then our glasses meet with a merry chime and we drink. A powerful taste washes over my tongue, softened by the sweet aroma of the syrup. Achille clears his throat. Oh, yes, that's an adult drink and no mistake. We all laugh. The noonlight shines upon the common of mother's roses. They look exceptional this year. ****. And I am crying again. I stop my hand from reaching to Achilles' smile, father's muscular back, and the healthy hail on our sun-kissed skins. They have left this world while only I remain, but on the canvas and in my heart, they still live. So beautiful. I drink in the moment and they let me. Eventually, I turn my attention to the old one. I do not have words in a cater like Ian that could do this justice. May I keep it? The dragon frowns and for a moment, I fear the worst, but he relents. I agree to a swap. I shall keep this rendition of mine, although it is HMPH. You are quite young. I judge it passable. I appreciate that. You lose, by the way. Yes, I did I not? Or rather, you won. I grabbed the painting, which the dragon rolled into a protective case through an effort of will. The process gives me a few seconds to think. Unless the princes have come up with another idea, and from their dejected faces, they have not, the arrogant twerps unused to defeat, then we are at an impasse. I wish we had someone to blame besides us, but we do not. We were so focused on beating the competition to the dragon that we underestimated how difficult it would be to take that last step. In a way, we were right to account for Revas and his tremendous means. We just had the misfortune of meeting the dragon while he was in a bad mood. Now, the fact remains that I have no skill the dragon is not better at. We simply cannot outperform this old monster. I might as well just... Wait. Hold on. HMMMM. Do you have something else or can I go to sleep? The dragon rumbles. Yes, I do, in fact, have something else, I reply with the most innocent smile I can muster. This immediately makes them all suspicious, and for good reasons. But I shall take comfort in the fact that, even if it does not work, at least the dragon will pay for what we have been through to reach him. We are going to sing. I exclaim. By all the spheres, no. Sinead breathes, too late. You want to challenge me to a singing contest? The dragon asks with naked contempt. Yes. Opera arias to begin with. We shall operate according to the same rules as the riddle. I shall sing until I give up, or until you find a song you deem worthy. Ready? The dragon inspects me with suspicion, yet he is just as bound by the rules as we are. You may begin. Excellent. As a starter, I sing my favorite aria, Prendi, per mi sei libero from l'Elisir d'amore by Donizetti. Once I am done, I see that Sinead has stuffed his ear with fabric he tore from his under-armour while Cadus slowly blinks, shocked to his core. As for the dragon, he gives no reaction except for an extremely dilated pupil. No comments. I shall go on then. Thus begins my campaign of death and destruction on classical composition. I slaughter Lucia di Lammermoor, maim la Traviata, defile Rigoletto, and mangle Aida, which only just came out. After I am done insulting the Italians, it is Mozart I choose to vandalize. I massacre the Zauberflotti, especially the of the Queen of the Night, which I handle particularly atrociously. Then it is the turn of Don Giovanni to be violated. Figaro regrets ever getting wedded after I am done with him. I take a small detour by Paris to ravage Burleigh's Les Troyens, then off to Russia I am to tickle Tchaikovsky. After what must be hours enjoying the increasingly horrified faces of my spectators, I pause to give them a chance to intervene before I go from mild insult to actual torture, and also before I return to Italy to give Rossini what he did not deserve. The dragon starts. He stops for a moment, apparently at a loss for words. How can this be? I can tell you love music, and you are genuinely trying, and I can tell you have practiced. It is almost good, then a wrong note or slight waver ruins the song, and then you improve until I gather hope which you promptly dash again. How, in the name of the spheres, can you be so bad? Perhaps I just need more practice, I reply with a smile. I still have much to sing, and then we can start on the male arias, and then the choirs. The dragon inhales, no doubt contemplating weeks of uninterrupted musical damnation. Extraordinary, he finally says after a minute of silence. I must say I have not been this surprised since Ericle the Mad tried to graft dove wings on my nostrils. The dragon sighs a storm again. We all hold our metaphorical breaths, knowing that our fate hangs in the balance. This is it. HMPH, it is as little Carnacial says. One can train for a millennium to obtain proficiency, but an eternity is not enough to grow a sense of humor. I may have been difficult with you lot. You all seem quite young. Oh, very well, I applaud your efforts and your creativity. You have impressed me enough that I grant you this victory. HMPH. I try my best not to exult too visibly, although I have no doubt the dragon can see it well enough. You may ask for a boon, starting with the strange girl. What is it you desire? Dragon blood. I want dragon blood. Some of your blood. Please. And you shall have it. The majestic being places a siege weapon-sized claw against his chest, above the heart, and pulls. Although his scale remains intact, a single droplet of precious liquid levitates above the razor-thin tip. It approaches me. Open wide. I do so, if only to voice my protest at this casual treatment of the most precious of gifts. Immediately, the droplet lands on my tongue and I. Asterisk. 3 months later, Court of Blue Training Gardens. Sinead walked the steps leading to the deep undergrowth where blue court warriors face beasts and each other in vicious battles. His sure steps found footing among the treacherous roots, carrying him forward up the winding path. All the while, his mind churned with plans and machinations, for the third and final trial would soon be upon him. He found Cadiz sitting on the stone a distance away. Night birds flew around him as he rested, a hand placed on his essence blade. Cadiz illustrated the blind spots inherent to obsessed blade masters, Sinead thought. They, most of all, had trouble accepting that others would live by different values, or would not pursue excellence in a discipline with maniacal focus. At least the old vampire acknowledged his weakness while others did not. "How is she?" Sinead asked. Cadiz replied with a clipped accent, his leonine cracking at the seams to reveal the translated Akkad underneath. Not everyone possessed the inherent skill to learn the perfect tongue. "Articulate," she asked for my blood. "Please tell me you did not give it to her," Sinead hissed. Cadiz shrugged. "It will make no difference at this stage. Besides," she asked me, "I cannot refuse one who can beat me so soundly. I have to trigger my Magna Arca just for a chance to resist her onslaught, and she is not even trying seriously. If she asks me for an admission of her superiority, I have to grant it. A devourer would not tolerate a refusal." "I hope you are right. You should talk to her. I believe she has mostly returned to sobriety." Sinead nodded and moved on. At the end of a path, he found a secluded glade. The girl sat on a root incongruously grown in its midst. The starlight hit her in a way that broke his concentration. Suddenly, all his planning and calculations ceased, because she was here, just as precious and beautiful as the first day he beheld her, though they had both grown in the meanwhile. Her feet were bare since she had started to refuse shoes. A simple linen dress covered her from the shoulders down to her knees. She delicately held a moonchaser hair by the ears. Those were reputedly impossible to catch on account of their ability to phase through solid matter, a boon that had not sufficed to stop his clueless puppet. The hair itself had stopped struggling while she inspected it, poking its fluffy legs on occasion. She turned to him with obvious excitement. "Rabbit," she announced. "Technically, it is a hare, a different species." "Rabbit." She suddenly seemed moved to tears, beholding her caught prey with all the wonder of a child discovering chocolate. "Rabbit," she sobbed. "Yes, I find their fur amazing too, puppet." "Sinead. It is you. Yay. We should make love." "Not until you are yourself again, my dear." "Oh. You need to pull yourself together so you can return home, puppet. The others are waiting. You have a world to save." The earth dipped under his feet, and it was all he could do to remain standing. Suddenly, Ariane was very close, though she was still sitting on her root, and still holding the hair. He looked up to the summer sky of her eyes. They were frowning mightily. "You are trying to get rid of me. I can tell. Have you killed Revas yet?" "No. I still have to compete in the last trial, but would you not prefer to return to your land? I do not need you to participate." "Nah, you need me to win. No unfinished business. I hate unfinished business. If I leave and you die, I shall be upset forever. It is so." She nodded to herself. "So, you wish to help me triumph?" he asked. "Yes. Triumph. And sex. A better program I have never heard." Tope continued.